Okay, Dundee United has been purchased by US businessman Mark Ogren. He's bought an 85.61% stake in the club for around £1 million. That's how little this club is valued at. He's come in with £1 million saying, give me 85, 86%, and here's £1 million invested into the club. And the club's board said, yes, please, we'll take the money. Let's have a little look at Mark Ogren then. Obviously, he's come out and said his aim is to get promotion back to the SPL, so he clearly understands the promotion relegation system, which some of these American owners who buy clubs fail to realise is a key component of European football. So he clearly wants to invest to get back to the SPL. That's where he believes the club belongs. I believe the fan base believe the same thing. He's had sporting interests before. He owned the Mankato Dogs in the Northwoods Baseball League between 2012 and 2017 before he sold the team. He's a majority owner in the Sioux Falls Canaries, who are another baseball team based out of South Dakota, minor league baseball team. And he formerly owned a share of the Sioux Falls Stampede, which is a team playing in the US Hockey League, which is ice hockey, to the British market in the USHL. On his business front, he was the president of Crew Oil from 1995 until he sold it in 2018. So he made a large amount of money off selling the family oil business off in South Dakota. Plus, he also sold off 2 other retail businesses of convenience stores that he had 2 chains of at the same time, which then meant he could invest the money straight into Dundee United. It's interesting. Obviously, it shows the appeal of European football over the MLS to potential investors. He's the latest in a long line of American businessmen who have purchased clubs in the UK. Obviously, Dundee United is one of the smaller clubs that have been purchased, but it does show a continued flow of cash from North America into the British football leagues. We've seen Fulham with Sahid Khan. Gillette and Hicks owned Liverpool at one point. They've now obviously sold on to the group that owns the Boston Red Sox, so that's still on US ownership. The Glazer family with Man United. We obviously saw Aston Villa at one point was owned by American investors. I'm not certain on who owns them now, but there was American money in Aston Villa. Stan Kroenke at Arsenal. The list goes on. So there is a large amount of American money sloshing around in the English Premier League and English Championship. But this is the first time a Scottish club has been purchased by a US businessman. What does this mean? Well, we're going to see some action in the transfer market, I have no doubt. I wouldn't be surprised if, as time goes on. In the short term, he's kept many of the previous shareholders of the club on in the board as part of an agreement to buy this 85.61% share in the club. I wouldn't be surprised if he does go for a total buyout of the remaining shares under compulsory share purchase, because he owns more than 75% at a later date and becomes sole controlling owner of the club later on. But in the short term, expect some transfer market business to take place. This deal went under the radar because Mike Ashley in Newcastle and what was going on at Man United. This deal slipped under the radar, partly because the club is no longer in the SPL, and partly because of the big stories involving Newcastle and Man United in the Premier League with Mike Ashley's proposed sale of Newcastle and Jose Mourinho being sacked by Man United. But there you go, Dundee United has been purchased by US businessman Mark Ogren. He did so yesterday, and we shall see what happens in the transfer market next month, which I would expect would be busy on Dundee's part. I wouldn't be surprised if he pumps a lot more money into the club, becomes the sole shareholder in the club, and maybe sells his majority ownership in the Sioux Falls Canaries. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of movement on the transfer market from Dundee United, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do make it back to the SPL. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. If you're a Dundee United fan, what do you make of this purchase and the future of your club? That's going to be crucial to see. And it just shows the interest that European football still has to the American market over the MLS. Americans keep wanting to watch our games, hence the FA Cup third round having all the timings changed for the US market and by our clubs. So there is clearly an interest even in Scottish football in the US. So we shall see what happens and see if that this also means that Scottish football gets a bigger exposure in the US as well for viewership. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, place your comments below, and I'll have some more videos for you soon.